Covering news where you live, this is 5 News.
Well, thank you for joining us here for the latest news and weather where you live. I'm Joe Ellison. There is a new restaurant in town in Fayetteville, and it's called Smokin' Oak Wood-Fired Pizza and Tap Room. You may have heard of the place. They had their grand opening back in January. They've got beer, wine, mixed drinks, and ciders, but back then you couldn't pour your own drink. However, starting on Tuesday, you can, thanks to new laws going into effect in Arkansas. Now, what new laws are we talking about? Well, there's the new self-pour law, but here are some other big ones you should know about. The first is Act 317. This will ban transgender people in pre-K through 12th grade at public schools from using the restroom that matches their gender identity. The law applies to multi-person restrooms and locker rooms at public and charter schools. Next is a law concerning concealed handguns. A person's status as a medical marijuana patient or designated caregiver should not determine whether or not they're eligible to be issued a concealed carry license. And finally, Act 542, which requires parental approval for Arkansas teachers to address transgender students by the pronouns and names they prefer. Now, there's so many more laws going into effect this week. For a full list of those laws, just head to our website, 5newsonline.com. And in other news, Fort Smith police are looking for a driver in a deadly hit and run. This happened on Saturday on Midland Boulevard and North Street around 6 in the evening. The crash report confirms that the driver of a Ford truck made a left turn in front of a motorcycle, resulting in the motorcycle hitting the passenger side and then left the scene of the crash. Now, the two people on the motorcycle were taken to a hospital. The passenger, 21-year-old Alan Hickman III of Mulberry, was pronounced dead. The driver of the motorcycle has not yet been identified. And today we know a man is in custody after Roland police say he shot at an officer on Saturday morning. Police say it happened as the officer pulled over to see if the suspect needed help with his stranded vehicle. The officer was not hit by the gunfire. This all happened around 4 a.m. on Saturday on Rayfine Boulevard. There, a police officer saw a car on the side of the road that he thought may have been having mechanical issues. Police say as the officer approached, the suspect got out of the vehicle and began shooting approximately 8 times before running off into a wooded area. Officers say the suspect is now in custody but have not yet released his identity. Again, police say no one was injured in this incident. All right, before we get to other news, let's get a check of the weather where you live with meteorologist Zach Scott. And Zach, another hot week.
Another one hotter than last week. Last week was building up, and then we continue to see temperatures getting about a degree warmer as we went through the weekend. And we're still looking for this heat wave that started this time last week to peak this Wednesday and Thursday. That's when it's going to be the hottest. And then we're going to look for a pattern shift, try to get a cooler air mass, try to get some rainfall and some added cloud cover to move in by this upcoming weekend. All right, Fayetteville still hasn't hit 100 degrees. Again, the National Weather Service has been keeping records for decades and decades for Fayetteville, Fort Smith. So we have more data for these two towns. That's why I use them. But they're overall good representation of each one of their regions. All right, so we're looking at the 7 days now. Fort Smith has been 100 degrees or hotter. On average, we see 9 days in Fort Smith in the River Valley, 100 degrees or hotter. I think by the time we're done with this heat wave, we could be well over that average a little bit, as we could see the streak, which is 3 days right now, if everything plays out accordingly, maybe up to 8 days. Still nowhere near the record. 35 days in a row is the longest stretch that we've seen 100-degree days or more across the River Valley. We're not going to break that record. Overall, this summer has been pretty seasonal here across 5 country. Temperatures 95 up to around 97 degrees. We do have scattered clouds left over from overnight storms. That cloud cover going to try to filter out a little bit of sunshine, make it more tolerable outside a little bit. We don't have much of a breeze mixing up the hot and humid air. We're going to be ranging about 98 to 101 across the River Valley. You factor in the mugginess, we have heat alerts out for another day. Feels like temperatures near 105 for northwest Arkansas. We'll be closer to 108 in the River Valley. Can't roll out a stray shower this afternoon with some peak daytime heating, 10% chance, minimal rain chance there. We're, again, focused more on the weekend, Joe, for better chances.
All right, thanks so much, Zach. Well, in other news, a store in Fayetteville celebrated a major milestone over the weekend. Pack Rat honored its 50th anniversary on Saturday. They celebrated with games and live music. Now, Pack Rat started in 1973 by Scott and Carolyn Crook when they decided to open a store for outdoor equipment. equipment, but it was originally located inside of the couple's garage. Scott Crook passed away in 2019, but the store continues to carry on his legacy. We spoke with the owner of Pack Rat, and he tells us their goal is to be a part of the community for more years to come.
I think our goal right now is to be here for another 50 years. And so for us, we're one of those type of shops that, to the best extent that we can, we want to be part of our community. We support a lot of local nonprofits and things like that. And when you come in to Pack Rat, you're going to talk to a person that has experience and that, has likely been doing things around the area and all over the country and maybe even the world. And so our kind of slogan is best selection, most experience, and that's what we want to continue to do into the future.
Well, if you miss them celebrating the milestone, don't worry. Pack Rat also hosts events and clinics throughout the year, from rock climbing instruction to survival skills. Well, thank you for joining us here for the latest news and weather where you live. Make sure to catch up with us again tomorrow right here for more. Have a great day.